This is the Media and Mind podcast with your host, K.W.H. Olin. Dare to see the gray. So, yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about what's basically what the Media and Mind is going to be about. Um, it's basically going to be exploring the gray areas that a lot of people don't talk about with different topics here. I don't when I watch other people, so some people are, balanced, but they still don't seem to really explore the gray areas as much detail as I would like to do here. So that's what we'll be doing here. But like I said, we'll have some in the future, not right now, but we'll have a guest, occasional guest on here, and several topics and stuff. Um, yeah, I apologize, everybody. I've been kind of out of the spotlight for 2 years. I was on a few podcasts. The first one was Unslaved in August of 2021 with David Whitehead and Michael Asarian for my book, Patriots Rebirth. And yeah, we did that, and then I was on a couple others. I was on the Jaffe's World Pirate Radio. That was probably the next year after that, and then I've been on typical skeptical podcast and a few others there. But basically, what's kind of been slowing me down for the last 2 years is I've been building my wife and I have been and my dad been helping us build a log cabin. For since the houses are so expensive these days, we figured that it would be better to just build our own house, instead of having some guy, contractor, up the it'd be ridiculous the cost. None of the young people can even afford one, so we are lucky with that. But it's a lot of work, and the biggest time consuming process has been the chinking of the log cabin. So I definitely not doing a log cabin again. And because of we first time we were doing it, the gaps were a little bigger than we wanted to, so we have to use a lot more chinking, so that makes it even longer. So anyways, and then I'm putting pipe in, and I got to get the internet over the cabin. So I have a temporary room now that I'm going to record this, and yeah, um, I just couldn't wait any longer. I didn't because everything in the news, it's crazy what's going on now with the news. With the a couple months ago with the Iran, Trump starting war with them, and the Israel stuff, and I talk about it a lot, but he pretty much in January or February he signed the executive order that you could not speak against Israel, or you could there'd be consequences for it. So, and I don't want to get into it too much because I think this Charlie Kirk thing is basically a distraction. Um, but you know it is now. It really is um, the basically taken off from where he put that executive order for the Israel thing, and then they're obviously definitely attacking free speech. So yeah, we can I get into that a little. We'll get into more detail with that with them firing people over free speech outside of work, and then we'll kind of talk about the association of freedom and how that's kind of perversion, and that was later it was just a congressional interpretation in the 1950s. It's not in the Constitution, so I think so. Anyways, well, we'll talk about it. I just believe I think it was designed to kind of sneak around your First Amendment rights, but we'll get in more detail on that another time. I think that the main topic tonight is going to be, which I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. I wrote about in my book, and it's called the New Republic. And I kind of want to talk about, um, how basically what we need is we need a new um, we need a new a symbol, an idea, something to get to stop to make a basically a new system, and yeah, and I know, I've been you know been talking to the anarchist community for quite a bit, and I agree with a lot of it. I agree about 99% of it. Volunteerism. I think that's one of the best. But there are a few areas where I don't. I see that there's a big problem with it. And I think people when I say I want to form a new republic, again, this is all hypothetical that we're talking here. I'm not telling anybody to actually do this. We're just philosophizing here. So, um, but when they think I'm saying New Republic, they think I want, to make basically, another government to rule over people and tell them what to do. And that's simply just not true, especially if if you read my book, later on, I refined it more. In the book, the guy, he's William Winchester. He he's William Winchester in his 1700s, and then when he dies and is reborn, and he's Harrison Winchester in the Second American Revolutionary War. And one of his ideas is basically it's called a surgical revolution. So that would be that's an evolution to revolutions, in my opinion, because the typical ones are usually they're like right out in the open, and there's a lot of infiltrators. Like the French Revolution, they did the same thing. They try to infiltrate into these revolutions, and then they take them over. And it's usually it's usually people, the mob storming in, and it usually innocent people get killed, and there's collateral damage to the infrastructure and stuff. And I just don't. I think that's a stupid way of doing it. And another problem is when they used to do these revolutions, they would only go after the kings or politicians or whatever, and somebody controls the king, and they didn't the hidden hand, it doesn't show his face. You know they you know they the hidden hand doesn't show his face. Nobody ever gets, and then they just put a new puppet in, or a new king or whatever. So in my book, it was we were basically the character. He interrogates, he arrests the lower minions, like some of the politicians, the congressmen, the president and stuff like that. And he interrogates them, and then he finds out information of who the people that don't show their face, and so he can hunt them down, and surgically remove them. So instead of like, again, this is hypothetical. I don't want anybody thinking I'm giving them orders. I'm not giving you orders. We're just talking about this, um, but yeah, in this hypothetical surgical revolution, basically they would not be going out and storming the Capitol and be all obvious. They would hide their identities. They would wear gloves for fingerprints. Basically like assassination, very and very sophisticated. I was even joking. Some people, if this was ever fictional thing was going to happen, that they might even have, like, an app that kind of tells you, well, who's your closest, Congress member or whatever, and then and then people, they're anonymous, and people don't nobody says what their name is, or they don't show their face. So I mean, that's the only kind of way I can really see it happening without innocent people happening, and unnecessary collateral damage. Because I hear like a lot of term called scorched earth a lot, and I think it's totally fucking retarded. It's it's killing all the animals, it's polluting the streams, and just killing everything. It's not surgical. It's like, why would you kill innocent people when you're just trying to get a few scumbags? So there's probably only about 1,000 of these puppet masters. So it's like it's like, what's the point? So, it doesn't help the cause. So I don't think it's ever happened. I mean, at least in recorded history, this type of revolution I'm talking about. So, and, and again, I mean, it's possible it might not, have to be a violent physical revolution, if enough people, woke up. Um, but in history, it seems that most of the time it's only 3% of the population actually wake up and really actually do anything. The other ones are kind of like followers, or they're, dick suckers of the government, basically. So they just go along with anything. But like I said, those idiots, the idiot type of people, if you offer them a better alternative, then because they're followers, they'll usually follow wherever you go. So it's just you got to offer something better. So and that's another problem. These stupid people, like the anarchists I talk to, they kind of like, well, no government and that, but we're only 1% of the population. So if we're only 1% of the population, you can't. Um, I mean, what about the other, 99%? So they don't know anything about natural law. They know anything about that. So my idea was a transitional period, to a transitional period that the the new republic mirrors natural law, as best as it possibly can. And I was even talking to people that really, I think, again, we could talk about this, and I'm gonna be writing. I don't know. When I'm done with the cabin, I'm going to be writing a new constitution for the new republic, and maybe even a second Declaration of Independence, to state, basically that we have to, from 1871, um, we have to get back the republic, and because they changed Washington D.C. to a corporation, and that's where a lot of this snaking around your rights happen and everything. So we need to get back to that first, and then at least to restore that, and then I gotta I'll go in a lot more detail on this. It's kind of rough here, but we'll definitely explore this more. But um, yeah, the Congress. To me, um, I don't really think that we really need Congress anymore, to be honest. Back in the old days, they had, I mean, it was also to, so the common people couldn't make their own decisions, and they could kind of sneak in stuff. But they also kind of claimed, back then, because they didn't have cars, and people, they were limited to horse and carriage, that not everybody could meet at a place, or vote. So they would hire a representative to represent a group of people to, do something. But as we know nowadays, the representatives don't represent the people, the way they want you to, anyways. So they're basically a tyrant, basically, they just kind of do whatever they want, So so that I think that definitely needs to needs to stop, So you gotta so instead of having representatives, since we do have the internet, and we have larger people don't need to go their cars and vote. It could be electronic. I mean, again, I know there's security issues and stuff, and I think we could probably figure that out if we put our minds together, how that could be secure. And you could also have a backup, paper ballot that, that prints out, that you can compare to the online one, just make sure, there could be, other ways of doing it. But basically what I want is basically I think Congress needs to basically go completely, because they don't represent the people. They're tyrants. They take super PAC money. They're most of them are loyal to Israel, with APAC and stuff. So it's not, they don't represent us, and really I think they've always been a problem we never dealt with correctly. Even the first Revolutionary War, they wouldn't even give the shoes to the revolutionary soldiers. They didn't even have shoes. So I mean, they were bastards back then. So I think they definitely need to be dealt with. And I think with the new republic, I think we should have a system where the people vote directly on the issues. They vote um, they vote on all the issues except for there's a clause I added in my book to protect, because I know people say the majority will rule over the minority, and they'll make decisions. So I already thought of that protection by adding a clause that if the act does not violate if the act does not violate another's constitutional rights or natural rights, it may not be voted upon or violated. And those natural law, those natural rights, like they're defined, and those are not things that people could bring up to the ballot. Like, for example, like drugs. If somebody was like, I don't want it. I want to make drugs illegal again, or it's still illegal, but some states, and they're like, I want drugs illegal. I don't want anybody doing that, and then they all put it to the ballot and they vote, but that violates your basic natural rights, pursuit of happiness, whatever you want to put it. So you're, so basically you have to stop. Um, so that's how you stop people from voting against stuff that they shouldn't be voting again, and then violate people's rights. So that would be one way of protecting yourself. Because yeah, the public a lot of times, and I wrote about it. They a lot of times not even the government. The people are the ones that ask for the tyranny. They'll ask for safety, or they'll ask something to get banned or censored, or they want a new law or something, and they'll ask the government to put it in. So the people are, yeah, that the majority, if they're not educated, they're really dangerous. So basically that's why I have a little bit of problem with the anarchists, how they're just kind of like, let's just get rid of everything, and butcher all the whole Constitution and all that. Which and another thing, I know people know I've basically exposed Mark Passio, for his violated, like he's not for the First Amendment, which is really weird. I would have thought that was a natural right, but yeah, it's something I find very strange in the anarchist community, that the First Amendment is twisted and perverted, um, and they don't seem to care about that, and that's a red flag for me. So, but again, you can do it in a way where it's written almost perfectly, where it does mirror natural law. And again, it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. This stuff is never perfect, but it's like, when you update a program, it's version 1.0 and then version 2.0. And eventually it's almost perfection, So, the first version 1.0 is the first revolution with the Constitution. This could be the new era for the new Constitution, where it's version 2.0, where it addresses all the issues that we had in 200 years, and gets rid of the loopholes, gets rid of the federalist language, gets rid of Congress, the president, and really does have the people represent themselves entirely. So that's what I've been, you know, talking about a lot in my book. So, and again, it's getting back to the media and mind podcast. The main issue in here is, the um, it's always black and white. It's either civil war or it's world war, but there's nothing in between. There's nothing in between that. So, and that's what they want. They definitely want civil war and world war, because that takes the focus off them. Once again, that they've done in history, and then they just get us to fight with each other and kill each other, and like it just wears us down, and basically does nothing. So really, I've said it before. I said I will not support civil war or world war, and I will not respect people that engage in that. And for that, if that's the way it's going to go, I'm gonna stay out of it. At that point, and unless I mean, I'll try to stay out of it unless it comes to my doorsteps. But other than that, yeah, I'm not engaging in that. So, like I said, it would better better to if they did start a civil war, a world war, it would be better for people to, hypothetically, turn the guns on the puppet masters instead of say, no, we're not fighting any more of your wars, and you know, and dying and getting maimed stuff for so you can have it, watch us your sick pleasure watching us get blown up. We're not doing that anymore. So at this time, if you want war, it's going to be war on your doorsteps. So it's my main thing. So again, I don't want war. Nobody does. But like, if they're going to force us to get violent, then I'm not gonna, I'm not. I'm gonna use. I'm gonna hypothetically use the violence, channel it correctly where it needs to go. And kind of reprogram where that's going to go, because I'm not being used as a pawn in this anymore. So I don't know. I'm sure other people. I mean, I don't know if the past lives are real. I'm open minded. I mean, but if it is, I feel like I possibly already lived through this shit and already had to do it before. So I don't want to. Not doing it again. So I'm done. So well, I've been on this earth long enough that I think I'm not gonna. I think I graduated to that to be fighting in their stupid wars. So but yeah, and then so yeah, I mean that's kind of like the first topic here, and we'll be yeah, we'll be exploring a lot more. Trying to, like I said, this will get better. This is just kind of rough as the first time. Usually anything I do, it's usually kind of rusty at first, and then once I get good at it, I'm like one of the best. So, but so but yeah, and but yeah, it's really crazy what's been going on. It's just and the crappiest thing is I warned about it, and others have too. Since I mean, I've known Trump was a piece of crap in 2017, when he attacked Syria, for the fake chemical attack. So I didn't, I turned against him right then because I knew he said he wasn't for war and he did, and then the major thing was of course, the COVID-19 vaccine, and then then there was that other 2019 where he was New York, he was pushing kids to get the MMR vaccine for measles, and there was always got to be done, you got to get your vaccines for that, and and when he was running, he kind of he ran that he was against, especially the MMR, so it was I could just see that he was turning already then, so I write a chapter in my book called Fake Patriot President, which, basically explains exactly who he is. And in there, I kind of have a scenario where the elites and stuff, build it. It's like a Bilderberg thing. And they're kind of talking and they're saying, geez, we're, because after, we had Bush Jr. and we had Obama and we had all those, the neocons, and basically people are, younger people especially, were getting sick of it. It was the same shit over and over again. Same pattern, nobody was, the Democrats, Republicans weren't given any, neither one of them were given what anybody wanted. So then people started kind of going independent, like myself. Well, I was independent, so I was 18, but other people started going independent. And I think they got scared that they were going to lose that, um, they were going to lose that two-party system, the Hegelian dialectic thing. They were gonna lose that. So like, oh, let's, I mean, since everybody wants to go independent, we'll create a candidate that it will appear to be independent, but it'll really just be basically the same thing. And then to get people back into the two-party system and the Republicans, and that's exactly what you can see now. Trump is like full Republican, and and Alex Jones is doing the same thing. He used to be, he used to be against both parties. He used to talk about a lot about Bush Jr., and now he's just basically just a Republican, and all he talks about is neoliberals all the time. And that's the only issue. So yeah, in my opinion, he definitely, and a lot of people say this, he's definitely been, he sold out. I mean, a lot of us think he sold out, from the very beginning, his parents and all the weird CIA stuff and all that. So, Bill Cooper basically talked about he was suspicious of him even back in the '90s. So yeah, to me, he does look, especially when he was younger, he looks like the typical CIA agent, so the infiltrator. But yeah, but that's trying to think if there's anything else here. I'm sure there's tons more here. Just probably um, but yeah, guys, just don't fall for the tricks and always think in the gray area. Like don't get in the black and white crap. So because that's where people they entertain Halian Halian dialectic. They're just doing exactly what they want. So you've gotta bust through that crap and you know see with a balanced mind. So yeah, and so I just wanted to correct too. When I said that, um, Harrison Winchester, with the surgical revolution, what I instead of congressmen, what I meant is he didn't go after congressmen. That's stupid. He surgically went after the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and uh, and the other major players behind the scenes, and he interrogates them to see the black, so he could find out where the kids are underground and where the Black Brotherhood, the higher up groups. So basically, he interrogates them to find out who the actual hidden hands are, even behind the Rothschild. Just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, yeah, I think we almost went 30 minutes. If we did it, we'll make sure we do that next time. But yeah, don't take the black pill or the blue pill. So take the gray pill. Okay, so that's the better one to take. There's no extremes, not black or white, just in between. That's the best way to do balance. So all right, well, it's good seeing you guys, and we'll see you again next week.